Happy Friday. You are listening to the She Heals Radio Show on Awesome God Radio. I am your host, Whitney J. It is Friday, December 4th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. I pray that you had a beautiful week. If you are tuning in on the Awesome God Radio app, thank you so much. If you have not downloaded the free Awesome God Radio app, listen, you need to download it. Amazing shows, amazing sermons, worship music. The mixes are insane. And guess what? We are just getting started. So make sure you lock in and tune in. Download that app, okay? More to come on Awesome God Radio, y'all. Shout out to my family. I love you guys. If you are tuning in on YouTube, thank you so much. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, Whitney Hogan's, please do. If you're tuning in on Periscope, Twitter, again, Whitney Hogan's, please follow me there. And last but never least, my Facebook family. If you are tuning in on Facebook Live, hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it to your page. We have an amazing show today. I am super pumped up. I am excited. I love opportunities to connect with my Awesome God Radio family. And we have Easy Breezy that's going to be joining us. She is so much more than an Awesome God Radio host and an author and an amazing businesswoman. She is a beautiful soul, and I am blessed to call her my friend. So we are going to have her in the second half of the show. But we got stuff to talk about, family. So listen, leave me some comments. If you are feeling led to share anything, I am right here. I actually have them pulled up. I can hear it. Shout out to Nelson, Awesome God Radio family. Thank you. Shout out to Angie. I love you. Thank you for being who you are in my life. All right, let's hop into it. I'm extra pumped today, obviously. There is something to be said about when you, for those that struggle with anxiety and depression, and it feels like there is a cloud over your head, right? It just literally feels all consuming, like there is a cloud over your head. It is something to be said, though, about that moment where the cloud rolls away. You can see the sunshine. You can feel it on your face. That is how I'm feeling right now. The last couple weeks have been difficult. Mind you, it's been difficult for everybody, right? So no complaints. But over last weekend, so, it was Thanksgiving last week. I pray you all had a beautiful time. I cooked my first Thanksgiving dinner, y'all, and it was pretty good. I have much to learn and grow, but it was a great day nonetheless. But over those days after that, I really took some time to kind of love on myself. I had to not be worried about anybody else. I had to kind of sit and just rest. And so I took some time to rest, and I was just kind of laying around my house, not really doing too much of anything, but I was in the house, and the peace of God hit me, and it was beautiful. And he just overwhelmed me with revelation, with assignment, with just so much. And it just felt so good to hear from him. It felt so good to feel him. And so I've been living off of that high per se all week. And it's been beautiful. So, for those that suffer with anxiety and depression, I know it's hard firsthand, but it does get better. It does get better. God is a healer. And when you're willing to do the work as well and believe for your healing, you will be healed. I'm believing that I will be completely healed from anxiety and depression. It is possible. But so over this last week, rather, I have just been, just in a new space, new revelations, just been journaling and writing things down. Whenever God gives me something, I have to write it down because I'll forget it. And so God was depositing all these things to me this week, and I wanted to share a few nuggets with you. One of the things that God was showing me this week is there is an entire picture. And there is order in the picture. There's an entire picture, and there is order in the picture. So when I think of chaos, because that to me is the opposite of order, I think of the jungle, right? I think of the jungle. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just craziness and things. That's how I feel like this year has been. It's been the jungle. It's been so many things happening. You feel like you can't even catch your breath from one thing. Something else is happening. We've been in this pandemic pretty much this entire year at this point. Then on top of that, we're dealing with, just social injustice. We're dealing with our own personal things, trying to keep our own family safe. working from home, teaching our kids from home, trying to do all of these things. And it's just like, man, oh man, it's chaotic, right? And so, I think of that and I always look at the jungle. Things of the jungle. And I'll even say that, like, God, my life is like the jungle. And actually, the jungle has structure and order in it. There are certain rules of the jungle, right? We always say that there's the king of the jungle, right? That means that there is some type of leadership. And when there is some type of leadership, there should be some type of order. So even in what looks chaotic, there is still order. If you look at, I don't know if you've ever looked at like the Google Maps or like the National Geographic, where they have those like live cams that go into the jungle. Everything is not just crazy, contrary to popular belief. Yes, things do happen, but things are not overly crazy all day, every day. There are lots of peaceful moments, and you will see all these animals, and you're like, how are they coexisting together? Because in my mind, it's chaotic because it's the jungle, but there is order even in the jungle. I know that many of us, myself included, are feeling the weight of this year. We are feeling the weight of just all the different things that have happened in our country, in our world, and even in our personal lives and communities. And it may feel like things are completely chaotic and that there is no, God is not even around. But you have to know, beyond what you can see, there is order even in the jungle. Even in the storms, even in the frustrating parts, there is in fact order. And so it may look crazy, it may feel crazy, but guess what? There is still order in the chaos. And because there is still order in the chaos, we still have responsibility in the chaos. I was going through something this week, and I have to shout out this amazing woman. I'm not going to say her name yet because we haven't shared her book that's coming out, but someone that I'm working with through my publishing company, who has become someone that I admire. She sent me this word this week. And we were talking, we were exchanging, like, how can I pray for you? How can I pray for you? And I was talking about my business, and I was like, I just want to be in the center of God's will, but at the same time, God is telling me to do certain things, and I'm trying to be obedient, but I don't see how to do this thing that he's telling me to do. And so she was sharing with me, and she was like, you need to prepare now. And she just started she was texting me these questions, and they really, really spoke to my spirit. The first question that she asked me was, do you have space for what God has promised you? And when she said that, I was like, ooh, do I? Do you have space for what God has promised you? Even in the jungle, even in the chaos, there is still promise, and the promise will still come to pass because that's who God is. So do you have space for what God said, even in the jungle, even in the chaos? Have you made room for the things that God said? Are you preparing for the things that he has promised you? And you have to be really, really careful, because sometimes we think that we're preparing and we're not. You got to seek God and say, okay, God, I'm believing you for this thing. What do I need to do to prepare for it? What is it that I need to do to prepare for it? So yes, God, I'm believing you for a spouse. I'm believing you're sending my wife. You're sending my husband. And you might think that in preparing for that, that's you, getting ready to go on dates, and that's you maybe joining a dating app. And I'm not knocking those things, but it also could be you getting your finances together, because how are you going to be in a marriage and you don't know how to manage your own finances? How are you going to manage your finances with someone else? It could be you getting your credit together. It could be you going to therapy to heal from those past hurts and pains, so that when you come into this new relationship, you're not coming in with a whole bunch of baggage. It could be you getting your life in order. Not just getting your outfits together to go on the dates and getting your hair right and those kind of things, looking the part. It's in fact being the part that is what is getting prepared. And again, when you're preparing for something, that means there's an expectation. You cannot say that you have room for the things that God has for you if you don't even expect them to come. So are you expecting God to move? Are you expecting for his promises to be made into your life? Are you expecting for him to do what exactly he said he was going to do for you and through you? And so in order to do that, again, you got to get prepared. You got to seek God for preparation. It could be that maybe you're going through a season of, I like to call it survival, when it's like things are just moving out the way. Maybe friendships are leaving you. Maybe certain business situations are leaving you, jobs or whatever. It just seems like so many things are leaving. Could it be that is actually preparation for God to move in with the thing that he needs? Because sometimes we have things in the space that God needs. And so he's got to move those things out of the space so that he can have it. Many times we're trying to hold on to so many things. And God's like, I have this great promise for you, but I don't have any room because you're holding on to things that I have told you to get rid of, or you're holding on to things that I didn't tell you to have in the first place. But maybe because you got it yourself, and you don't fully trust me yet, you're trusting on your own resources and your own things. And so I have what you need. I have what you want. I have what I've promised, but I have to have room. So that was the first thing that she asked me. Do you have room for the things that God has promised you? Do you have room for the increase? And something else she said, and we were talking about finances, but before we get there, she said something that it can apply everywhere. She said, you cannot take new money and put it into old places. And when she said that to me, I was done, because that is a mindset for everything. That doesn't even have to relate to finances. You can't fit a new thing into an old circumstance. You can't fit a new beginning into an old mindset. So you've got to be willing to shift. And in order to do that, you've got to know who God is. Many of us don't believe God for things because we haven't even talked to him about it. Have you even asked God, Lord, what is your will for my life? Lord, what is it that you're trying to show me? What is it that you're trying to teach me? Lord, what is it? Have you ever just asked him? Because we assume that God has the same thing for everybody. Oh, well, I want this. I want a family. I want a house. I want that great career. I want to have a certain amount of money in the bank. I want that business. I want that title or position. We think the same things, right? We think that everybody wants the same things, but what did God actually promise you? There is a difference between what you asked of God and what God promised you. So I may ask God for something, but I have to be in tune and make sure that I know what God promised me. God promised me that he would never leave or forsake me. God promised me that all things will work together for the good of those that love him and that are called according to his purpose. He promised me that he would supply all of my needs. He promised to protect me and to keep. What did he actually promise you versus what did you ask of him? This leads to a lot of confusion, and it can lead to a lot of disappointment. Because we ask things of God and we automatically assume that because I asked you this, God, that means you've already said yes. And that's what you've promised me. But God may not have said that. That's a hard blow to take. And sometimes God is like, that's not what I promised you. Maybe you really wanted that job at that particular company. You wanted to be in that position and there was nothing else. And you're like, God, you know, I want that. And God said, I have something for you. I'm promising you that I have the career for you. And you took that as, okay, well, what I really want is that particular job at that company. So God said that he has the career for me. So that means that God is going to give me that job. When really God might have said, I have another position for you at another company, or I have a business for you, or I have a ministry or a nonprofit for you. But you took what you wanted and a little fragment of what God said, and you created an expectation that he did not promise. And so now when it hasn't been fulfilled, you're frustrated, you're angry with him, you're ready to walk away from him, but that wasn't what he promised in the first place. So a lot of times we got to go back to the drawing board and say, God, what did you say? Everything that God says to us is confirmed in his word. He confirms the things he says to us. And so, God, what did you say? What did you promise me? And what needs to shift in my life to make room for what you've promised? So if, God, the issue is that I don't have enough room, what's in the way? Are there some habits that I need to get rid of? Are there some, mindsets that I need to get rid of? Is there some forgiveness that I need to release? Is there that person that hurt me that I haven't forgiven because I don't think they deserve it? Is that what's keeping me from your promises? Because I don't even have room for it because I'm carrying that weight that comes with unforgiveness. Is it me forgiving myself? Is it me repenting to you, God, and getting right with you? Is it that I've disconnected from you in some way? God, what is it that I need to do or move or shift in this season to make room for the things that you have? Show me, God. That needs to be our position. Now, it's an uncomfortable position because then God will start showing you some things, and sometimes it gets a little thick. I'm in that season right now. I asked God to show me. I said, Lord, I want to be the best Whitney that you've designed me to be. I want to have a heart that's like your heart. I want to have a perspective that's like your perspective. I want my thoughts, my words, and my actions to be a reflection of you. God, I know I have some ways about me that's not pleasing to you. I know I can have a bad attitude at times. I know that, sometimes I don't move the way you tell me to move because it doesn't look how I want it to look. I know there's plenty of wrong with me. I know there's plenty of faults, God. So help me to see myself and change and transform me. Yeah, that's a great prayer to pray, but pray it when you're ready, because God is not going to snap his finger and all of a sudden everything is okay. Now, you're going to go through some things. God had to show me some things about myself that I did not like, that I was embarrassed by, that I was frustrated, like, oh God, that's so ugly. And God was like, but I need you to see it so that I can correct you, so that I can redirect you, so that I can mold you and position you for not only the things I have for you, but for the assignment that I need you to fulfill. Because it's not all about us and what we want and getting what we want from God. It is also about us doing what God called us to do. It is about us fulfilling the assignment he has given us. Forgive us, Lord, when we think it's all about us. I am constantly before God about my desires. Lord, I want this, and I want this for my family, and I want this for this person. I want that to happen, and I want this to be fair. I'm all for that. But how many times do I come to God and say, God, how will you use me today? God, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? Not for me to get something, not for my personal gain, but for your glory. Yes, I'm making room for the promises, but am I also making room for the assignment? Am I also making room for the work that you have for me to do? Because I'm not supposed to just be sitting here looking pretty, getting things. There is an assignment that is attached to all the things that you have for me. There is an assignment attached to the different experiences that I've had. So God, help me to also be ready for the work. So many of us want the accolades and we want that good look and we want all of those things, but we are unwilling to submit to the work. Pastor Robbie, my childhood pastor, Pastor Robbie Davis, he always would say, are you willing to submit to the demands of your dreams? Are you willing to work for it? Okay, God, yes, I'm believing you, but I got to do the work. So equip me, God. Do you have a yes for God? Period. Because that's when the order comes in. When you give God your yes and you say, you know what, God, I surrender, I submit. Lord, your will be done. I'm taking my hands off of it. I am releasing my control. Do you have a yes for God? Because then God can do something with that. When you're clenched fist and you're like, well, I'm going to hold on to whatever it is that I want to hold on to, whether it's I want to hold on to the pain because pain is what I know. I want to hold on to the past because the past is what I know. I want to hold on to whatever, that relationship or that job, whatever it is that you're holding on to that God is telling you to let go of. Your fists are clenched and you're not getting anywhere. You got to let it go. You have to release that thing and trust that God has something for you and he has an assignment for you to fulfill as well. It is not all about you. It is not all about me. It is all about him. And so are we giving him our yes? Are we giving him our yes? Are we making room? Are we getting things in order? Are we getting things in order? You know, I was saying to God, like, God, I believe in you that, you know, my business is going to be super successful, 7 figures and this and that and all of these things. And he's like, yes, but I need you to manage your finances right now. I need you to manage what I've given you right now. Are you a good steward of what I have given you right now? Yes, all of those things. But you got to manage and be a good steward over what I have given you now before we can move to the next thing. So, you know, we're saying, God, yes, I know you're going to bless me with my spouse. Okay, but are you a good steward over yourself and what I've given you right now? Because you're not going to be able to be good for anybody else if you can't be good for yourself. Is your house in order? Are your things in order before you look to somebody else for that? Are your things in order? Oh, God, I really want, you know, I'm ready to have children. I'm ready. Okay, that's great. But have you prepared? Are you prepared for what I'm asking? Because a lot of times we are moving too fast. We're moving ahead of God. But there's things in this season that we have to learn in order to move ahead. That's why you cannot rush the process. That's why you have to slow down. You got to take it in. You got to stop trying to rush everything. You don't have to have it all done in 3 months. You don't have to, you know, God gives you a word for a business, you know, and you go and quit your job. Okay, did he tell you to do that? If he did, by all means, do it. But if not, maybe he told you to take some time to prepare. Maybe you're going to have to work your job for a year while you're working your business, and that's okay too. Maybe God is saying to you, you know, hey, listen, I do have that person for you, but I need y'all to develop a friendship first. I need you guys to submit under my authority and my process. So yes, you're going to get there. But right now I have some things that I need you guys to do. I've already determined who that person is. I will send them to you at the right time. Ecclesiastes 3 says there's a time for everything. So yes, I heard you and I got it covered. But don't try to jump the process. I will give you everything that you need in its time. But you've got to be ready. You've got to be prepared. So we've got to take a step back and reevaluate a few things. Are we trying to fit new things into old spaces? Because it won't work. Are we prepared for what God has for us? Can we see the order and structure even in the midst of the chaos? Can we cling to God even when things seem so shaky and unstable? Do we have enough faith to still have expectation even when it looks crazy? I know right now a lot of us are looking and we're like, God, you showed me something and I just don't see how I'm going to get there from here. I know I certainly have those moments with God. God, I'm just not seeing how you're telling me to do this and you're giving me these specific directions, but I don't see how these steps or these directions are going to get me over here to this thing that you said. And God's like, you don't need to see it. We want God to roll up that strategic plan. That's me all the time. That is me. I was talking to my best friend about this the other day. And she was like, why do we always want to know everything and be in control? And I was saying to her, I said, it's because we've experienced something painful that was outside of our control. And so we're trying to control everything that we can so that we never experience that pain again. But what ends up happening is we end up adding to the chaos because we're trying to hold on to something that we don't have control over because we don't have all that it takes to control it. Right? Because God is all knowing, not us. So then we start spinning and then we're drained and we're depleted and we're all of those things. And God's like, that's because you're doing too much. Period. God was telling me this all week. Whitney, I got you covered. And I can take care of you better than you can take care of yourself. I can take care of you and your family better than you can take care of them. But you have to trust me. And I'm not going to force you. But you got to make a decision. You can keep doing things your way. That's not working. And that's chaotic. And you can keep doing this cycle of getting a little bit of success, getting a little bit of, whatever it is that you're trying to get, right? You taste it, but then something happens and you're right back to where you are, starting over again, right? And then you hit, you get with the, well, things just always happen to me. And, oh, I just can't get ahead and I just can't catch a break. Nope. The reason why is because you're out of order. When you get in order, God will position you and he will teach you the things that you need. I know, because the jungle, like I said earlier, if you get on those webcams and you watch, there is still order in the jungle. But if you today just walked into the jungle, you're going to have a problem. Because you are disrupting the order of the jungle and you're not prepared. So you don't want to walk into the thing that God has for you and you're not prepared, and then it's chaotic and then it's ruined. So there is a method to the madness. There is a plan that is in place, but you have to stop trying to tell God how to do it, and you've got to submit to his process. You just have to say yes. I'm telling you, I am struggling with that. I struggle. I have dealt with lots of disappointment, lots of loss, lots of pain. And sometimes it is hard to be all in. I'm not speaking from some place of arrival. I'm right there with you. I'm giving my yes to God daily. I have to daily get up and say, God, I give you my yes today. Here's my yes, God. I submit to your will for my life. Here's my yes, God. What do you need me to clean up today? Or maybe you don't need me to do anything. Maybe you need me to get out the way and be still. Lord, what is it that you need of me today? That's my posture every single day, because I need him like I've never needed him before. And I have to have a posture that says yes. It has to be clear. I want what you have for me, God. And if this is the process that I have to go through in order to give you my yes, in order to receive what you have for me, then Lord, help me to deal with it. That's a hard position, but it's a necessary position to be in. You've got to be postured for God. You've got to give God your yes. You've got to get prepared. You have to make room for the things that God has for you. You have to open up space. Get those things and those people and those places and those mindsets and those habits that are not what God said. They have to be removed. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. You can't put new money in old places. You've got to move those things and shift those things and get prepared for what God has for you. There is no shortcuts. There is no other way but the process. You will continue to restart your process when you step out of order. So it's not even that you think you're getting a shortcut by doing something. All you're actually doing is just starting the process all over again, because you're going to come back to that same place and then you're going to have to start back over to get to where God has you. So you might as well just give him your yes. And so this week, as I was praying with God, it finally clicked for me that I don't have the answers and I don't have the resources and I don't know how to do what you are telling me to do, but you know, God. So I'm just going to give it to you. I don't need to know the details. I don't need to know why this is happening or why that's happening or when or how or what, or I don't need to know. I need to trust. So when we trust God, we move a little different. We can approach what looks chaotic and still see the order, because God is in all things and he is order. We can submit to a process that looks shaky, knowing that the promise is secured. We can step into the ring to fight, knowing that the fight is fixed. We have to give God our yes, though. There's no other way. There's no other way. He's the only way. He's the best way. And he has already made a way for us. So let's get through. Let's embrace the beauty of the jungle, even though it looks chaotic. Let's embrace the beauty of our lives, even though things may not be exactly how we want them to be. But most importantly, let's trust God and prepare for what he has for us. I pray that you were blessed by the She Heals Inspiration segment. I pray that God will give you what you need and that you'll be open to receive what God has for you. As we transition, I am super excited. There are people that you meet that you will never forget. And this woman is one of those people for me. She is hilarious. First of all, she's going to have me in here cracking up. I know it because that's her spirit. She's funny, but she is anointed. More than what she even knows she is, more than what she even gives herself credit for. She is incredibly gifted and talented and beautiful. She is my sister. She is my friend. She is a fellow author. She's a fellow Awesome God Radio host. Most of all, she is one of God's absolute best. So I want to welcome to the She Heals Radio Show, Miss Easy Breezy. Hey, Breezy.
What's happening with Jay in the house? I am so glad to be here, and I'm so happy that I made it in time because I was all the way in the bed.
Really, Breezy? I would have called you. You know that.
I was in the whole bed. It has been so wet and dreary and nasty out. My cover is calling my name, but I would not allow myself to forget to be here with my sister, Whitney J.
Well, I'm so glad. It's funny you say that because after I finished working for the day, I ran upstairs and I was in my bed watching The Nutty Professor of all movies.
Of all things.
And I watched it last weekend too, but that's neither here nor there. But I was in the bed watching it and then I was like, oh, it's 5:15. I probably need to get myself up together and get together. So, same here, but I am honored that you're here with me. I just love you, Breezy. But we got stuff to talk about. So I want you to introduce to the Heals family who you are and a little bit about what you do.
Well, first of all, I'm not even sure you need me because after that word that you just gave, I feel like we need to just pass the plate, say amen, and do the benediction. Because I'm sitting here listening, and I'm like, go ahead, girl. You cannot put no new wine in old wineskins. Hallelujah. You cannot go past God. I was waiting.
I can't. That was
make sure to put your cash app right across the screen so we can send in our tithes and offerings.
Listen, well, I'm just saying, cash out Whitney Hogan's and let the Lord use you. I'm kidding. But yes, Breezy, just tell us a little bit about who you are and let's hop into your book.
Okay, well, I thank you very much, obviously, for that wonderful introduction. You made me sound very much more important than I actually am. I'm only that important to my own self. But that's okay. That's okay. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brianna. They call me Breezy. You can catch me every Thursday on the Uplift Show with Breezy. Every Thursday at 8 o'clock here on the very awesome God Radio. Yes. Last night we had a great show. We had the AGR Family Feud where it was 3 AGR hosts pitted against 3 other AGR hosts. And yes, we do make cash money because that's the way we do it around here in the Uplift Show. I am going on 3 years now hosting this show. And something that I never thought that I would even do. It never was anything that crossed my mind, but I am just having a ball doing it. Yeah. I also have my little publishing company, which is called Elohim Multimedia. Thank you. Not only do I publish my own books, but I have several other authors under contract. I also do graphic arts. I do websites. I do business cards. I do everything. Mm-hmm. I always find do it because I don't pay nobody to do nothing for me. So therefore, I figure out how to do stuff myself.
I love it. So you have a new book
that I do have a new book
this year. So let's talk about this book. Give us the title. Tell us a little bit about what it's about.
Okay. This new project of mine is called, let me see, because I set up a new camera. Make sure y'all can see it. Okay.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is called From Chasing Shadows to Catching Dreams, The Tale of a Phoenix, Chapter 1. And for those of you that may not know what a phoenix is simply a bird that has risen out of the fire and ashes and become a beautiful bird. And that is me right here. I'd have been through some dirt, some ash, some coal, some fire, some hell, some everything. I've been through it all, but the Lord has allowed me to rise out of it with a smile on my face, with a laugh on my lips, and with a praise in my heart. I am that phoenix that has risen. So you can call this an autobiography. You can call it a memoir. I call it more of an autobiographical project because it is not my story told from beginning, middle, and end. I was born on a dusty Delta day in May in the middle of, no, it doesn't start like that. This is telling only a very small part of my testimony, and it is juxtaposed with prose and also poetry. I started writing poetry, and I found that I had this whole litany of poems in various places that needed to be put into some kind of order. And when I started doing that, I realized that the poems told my story in a specific order. So I started putting this project together, and literally, I stopped when the Lord said stop. It does not come up to the present day. It stops when the Lord said, okay, that's enough of your story for now. Maybe we'll get to another part later. But right now, this is what I want you to do. This is where I want you to be. So this is where I be.
I love it. I love it. And the one thing I love the most about you, Breezy, is that you are so willing to be transparent and to share what God has brought you through and what he is doing right now. And I feel like, especially in this season, more than other seasons, we all have been hit with something, right? This is the first time that everybody's been hit, right? It may have been a rough year, one year for you and not for someone else, but this is the first year that we've all been impacted in some way. And so talk a little bit about just how you process with God. When God has allowed, and you can share things from your book, but when God has allowed something to occur in your life that was difficult, how do you process with him? What is that process of becoming that phoenix like?
It ain't easy.
For sure.
It is not easy. And I'm reminded of something that my bishop told us once, that he found out that, and I believe he said he got it from Pastor Marvin Sapp, who came to speak at a conference that we had a few years ago. And he said he wanted to understand the process of making gold. So he called his jeweler to talk to him about it. And he said, when do you know that the gold is ready? And he said, he's thinking, well, maybe it's ready after it's been thinned out, or maybe it's ready after it does this, after that. But what he came to find out is that the gold is ready after it has been through the fire, after it has been reworked into whatever it is you're trying to make it into. And the jeweler knows it's ready when he can see his face in it. So the master artist only knows that his work is ready when he can see his reflection in it. And the gold has to go through such a purifying process. So I've been through purification process, and believe me, I still have some ways to go. But I have been through this process, and it has been hard. It's been hurtful. It's been dirty. It's been hot. It has been sometimes seemingly unbearable. But I keep my eye on the prize, knowing that when God can see himself in me, then he'll be able to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Right now, sometimes I feel like so scattered. My brain is up, I'm down, I'm in, I'm out, I'm back and forth. I don't know what I'm doing. But if I just continue to keep my eye on the prize, if I continue to keep my eye on Jesus, and as soon as I take my eye off him, then I start to sink. And then I have to reach out and say, Lord, help me, Lord, help me. But if I keep my eye on him, I will not sink. I will not fail. I will run and faint not.
Yes.
That is what keeps me going.
Okay, that was a word. Thank you. You kind of slapped me with it, but okay. Yes. I'm still stuck. I'm sorry. He knows it's done when he can see his reflection. That just messed me up. But the one thing, that I think the thing that we don't talk about the most is that you have to be willing to seek that healing. And you've got to acknowledge that the healing is needed.
You do. And another thing is, we don't like healing. The healing process is ugly. Yes. Let us be completely honest. Any dime store doctor will tell you that once you get a cut or something and you get that ugly little scab on top, it's ugly on the outside, but there's healing that's going on underneath.
That's right.
So you might have to get down and get ugly and get dirty sometimes. I remember once an ugly healing I had to go through. And I can't remember what was going on, but it was something that was down and dirty in my life. And my pastor is one of those, she is very, very sensitive in the spirit, and she will find you. If the spirit tells her something is wrong, she will find you. You can run, but you can't hide. And I was all the way in the back of the church, sitting in the back row. If I'd have been sitting back any further, I would have been at the bus stop. And I was looking real cute that day. I had on my cute hair, my little wig that had to flip up in the back, and I had on my cute little honey brown contacts to pretend that I had cute eyes. And I had my makeup on and everything else. White shirt. I was all holy. I had on the holy color. Man, she came back there, and I hadn't said anything to her, and I thought I looked okay. But she saw through all of that. And she came to me and she said, "Are you ready for your healing?" And I'm like, "Who are you talking to?"
Right, not me.
The next thing I knew, my makeup was all smeared on the carpet. My wig was crooked. One contact was gone. I was looking ugly, but I had received the healing that I needed. And that's something that we don't want. We don't want to go through any pain, but we have to realize that there is value in the valley. There is purpose for your pain. You have to go through in order to get out. If you never see darkness, you can't appreciate the light. So we have to go through to get there. You can't just wake up in the morning and say, everything is perfect. It doesn't work like that. You have to go through, you have to learn some lessons. If you don't learn them one way, you're going to end up learning them another.
Listen, it's a non-negotiable with God. He's like, oh, we can do this this way or this way.
Exactly.
But it's getting done either way. As you were talking, I was thinking about the man so of course I'm getting ready to get this wrong. I feel like Medea right now. I'm getting ready to get this Bible story wrong. So just correct me, Breezy. But I want to say, so there was a man that needs healing before I say the wrong thing. And he's going and they have to stir up the area of the water, right? So he's trying to get there and Jesus is there. And it's interesting. It's in John 5. I know that much. Jesus says, "Do you want to be healed?" Which I always thought was a dumb question. This man is sick. Yes, he wants to be healed.
Yes.
But the man responds and he's like, "Well, nobody's helping me get down in the water." And it's just this whole thing. And Jesus says to him, "Pick up your mat and go." And he picks up his mat. He's instantly healed. He goes. But I kept saying to myself, like when I would read it, like, well, why would you ask him knowing he wants to be healed? But I think that another misconception is that everybody doesn't want to be healed. I think some people are accustomed to their brokenness, right? It's what's familiar, right? So what does healing look like? If all I know is brokenness, if all I know is depression and anxiety, poverty and abuse, and this has been in my family for generation after generation after generation, what does healing even look like? Healing is uncomfortable. The breakthrough is uncomfortable when you're used to the pain. So what do you say to someone that's in that space of like, do I want to get healed? Do I want to become
that? I do a lot of prison ministry. And I love prison ministry. And people say, they kind of look at me funny when I say I go into the prisons. And I'm like, they need it even more than we do. Yeah. But I love to go into the prisons because they are a hungry people. And of course, I'm usually with women, but they are so hungry. They are desperate for the word. And something that I tell my ladies very often is that it is one thing to be in a physical jail, in a physical prison, where you're here in this space and you can't get out. But it's even worse when you are here in this space and you can't get out.
Yes.
Now, I might not have the key to be able to let you out of this place and let you go on and live your life freely, but I can give you the key. I can help you figure out how to get free up here. Because once we're sitting in this dark, dank space for so long, if you ever read stories about people who've been in solitary confinement, and sometimes if you look at like Nelson Mandela, he was in solitary confinement for years. So also was Winnie, until she started to literally lose her mind and ended up, talking to the roaches and things, because your mind goes. So it is all about the mind. And sometimes we get ourselves in this mindset of misery and we can't get out of it, like you said, simply because we're so used to it. That's when we have to look to 2 Corinthians 5:17, I believe, which says, give to me a clean heart and renew a right spirit within me. We have to ask for it. And you're right. Some people don't want to be healed because they're comfortable. And those are the kind of people that the Lord said, go to these people and preach the word. If they won't receive it, you wipe the dust from your feet and keep right on moving, because those are the people that you can't let slow you down, because they might not want to hear, they might not want to be free, but there is somebody else that wants to be free. So you have to keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep on going. And if somebody doesn't receive you, say, God bless you, and keep moving on. And the healing is not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And it could be that they're just not ready yet. I mean, everything in its time, right? Right. People are not ready for that process. I know for me, it's a lot. It's a lot when you start to go back to certain places of your life and you can't heal until you go through those things. And sometimes God requires us to go back in and look at some things. And I know for you, as a fellow author, it's something to be said about when you are writing about your life.
Oh yeah.
It is, I wrote my book, the pain is real, but the promise is eternal. And you think you good. I'm writing a book. I'm healed from this thing. And I remember starting to share certain things, and it hit me like, oh, I'm not healed from this at all.
Let me tell you, one of the major things that I do talk about is somewhere in this book is when I started to, when I was getting ready for a major healing, one that I didn't know that I needed and one that I didn't even want. Because I had been molested as a young girl. I was attacked by some, strange creepo in an elevator when I was 7 years old. And I had never really healed from it. I was too young really to comprehend what had happened to me. So I just kind of buried it. But what we need to understand, of course, is just because you forget something doesn't mean you've forgiven it. So I forgot it, or I let myself forget it, I should say. And I had written a poem about it, and it was called The Elevator. And I'd written it several years ago and really hadn't paid it all that much attention until one day I was home by myself for the weekend. I was still living with my mom and my stepdad at the time. And I was reading over it because I was putting it together, trying to come up with some kind of order for this little anthology that I did several years ago. And I read it, like, all right. But the Lord said, read it again. I'm like, what for? But I read it again. He said, read it again. Like, why am I reading this one poem over and over again? I had read it and had not affected me, but he kept making me read it, and I was getting irritated. So finally, the last time I read this thing, and before I knew it, I broke down. I broke down so hard. And I got up from the computer and I went walking around the house. I'm trying to clear my mind. I'm trying to psych myself up, saying that's enough. You can't do this. You over this. This happened so many years ago. But the breakdown happened. The breakdown was real. We say the struggle is real. That struggle was real for me. And to make a long story short, the Lord basically said to me, you have been allowing this man to molest you for 27 years. It is now time to let him go. And it was another one of those real ugly healings, because I'm telling you, I knew I was going to die. I was in so much pain. I was curled up on the floor. I just knew I was going to die. And then my mother was going to come home after her weekend away and find me dead on the floor. That's how I was just sure that I was going to die. That's how much pain I was in.
Yes.
But God.
But God. But God. But God. And healing is possible. It's possible. It's just, I think that we just have this, I think we want that movie moment, right? We want that movie moment where it's just like that person, says they're sorry, or whatever healing looks like for us, for our unique situation. We just expect a beautifully eloquent moment. And God does not always, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And so we've got to submit to his process, but becoming the phoenix is possible when you submit through the process. That is the key. So I wanted to get you to share maybe a little excerpt from your book. Now, don't read too much. They're going to go buy it. But just give them a little teaser.
I kind of slaved over what to actually read. I went through the whole thing, and I'm like, maybe I should read. No, because I got to read this to understand that. And I just decided, okay, you're thinking too much. So just start at the beginning. So this is part of the beginning. This is after the introduction and everything. So, you ready?
I'm ready. We are ready.
Okay. Lord, and just that quick, I done lost it. Oh, here we go.
Oh Lord, breathe.
Girl, you know what? You know me, and you also know that I can't have C, so y'all gonna have to forgive me. My memories before the age of 7 or so are fuzzy at best. After that age, they become a bit more lucid, but that is largely due to the life changing event that happened at that time, which I will discuss later in this writing. I have inquired of my mother and older sister about what I was like as a small child. I was moved to ask them after I dug up the few pictures that exist of me when I was young. Out of all of the photos, I am smiling in less than 6% of them. In every other picture, I am frowning, angry, sad, and generally look miserable. There is even a picture of me around the age of 5 with a birthday party hat on my head and a frown that is so deep that it seems to emanate from a place within me that has yet to matured into understanding. Looking into the mirror of those photos is polarizing. There is such an innocent sadness that hurts my heart and perplexes my mind. Even though I'm looking into my own eyes, I feel such a pity and disconnect from the little girl behind them. I want to understand her, but I also want to forget her. I want to heal her, but at the same time, I want to destroy her. Now, the piece that follows is a poem called Shattered Glass.
Mm.
The broken glass, the shattered remains of where her reflection once was. Fallen at my feet amid drips of blood, her empty gaze no longer asks why or because. She no longer exists, a figment of my past. She tried so hard, she held on tight. But the pain too great, the darkness too still, I had to let her go to save her life. She was so innocent. She was so young, her life so innocent, a rare black pearl, such a precious little gem. Until her chest was ripped open, her heartbeat slowed, and her light began to grow dim. Too much, too soon, too little, too late. She was destined to lose the war. I watched her every day as she grew and died. No way she could carry what she bore. I will miss her smile, although it was rare. Her eyes always managed to give her away. Her pupils brown soil with seeds sown of pain and loneliness that shortened her already short days. Her laugh was too hollow, her smile was too thin. It broke my heart to see her die. But I had to let her go. It was the best I could do to stop the countless tear that she cried. I hope that she is free now. She can spread her wings and take an endless flight, now liberated from her chains. Trapped no more in the cold, haunted no more by the past, her pain merely a memory amidst a shattered window pane.
Woo.
This poem can and will be interpreted in many ways, and frankly, all of them are completely accurate. It is not easy to look at a reflection of yourself and have no recognition of the person that stares back at you. In many ways, I was never really given the opportunity to become anything recognizable. Some people say that they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but somehow I managed to be born on the wrong side of life.
Oh.
It is no one's fault and everyone's responsibility. A child never asks to be born, never seeks what they don't know, and cannot be fertile when reared in a valley of death. It is the responsibility of those around her to create a positive and fruitful environment. The trouble is that the environment can only provide what it is capable of. We cannot ask more of anyone than they are able to give, and often mistakes in child rearing are a result of unintentional neglect rather than purposeful pain. I grew up in a very unhealthy environment, the details of which I will largely withhold right now out of respect for those who simply made bad choices for lack of knowledge or preparedness.
Mm.
What I do know is as a young, impressionable child, should never be subjected to the things my little eyes and ears were subjected to. My pastor you've met my pastor, the Honorable Pastor Jacqueline Faye Saunders Johnson. She used to be a school teacher. She was a music teacher, and she used to sing a song with her children called "Be Careful, Little Eyes, What You See." And it would go on, be careful, little ears, what you hear, be careful, little mouths, what you say, for the Father up above is looking down with love. So be careful, little eyes, what you see. And I, as a young child, I saw things that no child or even grown person should really ever have to see. I was subjected to so much, and it was like it was like bombs. Just I was just being bombarded with all of these images and feelings and thoughts and misunderstandings. But God,
But God.
but I was able to take those things that I had learned, turn them inside out, upside down, and put them through the fire. And now I am able to come out as pure gold, and hopefully am praying that the Lord is just beginning to see his reflection in me.
Yes. Breezy. Yes. That was, I'm sorry. That was just, oh my goodness. Your words, I'm speechless. Your words, and I could feel them. I could feel them. Whew, I could feel them. That's all I can say is I could feel them. I just thank you for sharing that, first of all. That is a small fragment of an incredible book. We are going to put the link to the book in the comment section so that you can grab it. But one more time, Breezy, tell them the name of the book and where they can get it.
The name of the book is From Chasing Shadows to Catching Dreams, The Tale of a Phoenix, Chapter 1, and it is available on Amazon right now. I believe it's also on barnesandnoble.com, but don't quote me on that. It's definitely available on Amazon.
And we will put it on the comment section. Please grab this book. It is incredible. Breezy, we're going to have to talk off the air.
We are strengthened by the testimonies of our brothers and sisters. So I just hope and pray that it strengthens somebody.
Yes. Woo. It did. It did. I do want to just, I know we are wrapping up the show, but just if there is one last word of encouragement you could give to someone, I know for a fact that God sent someone to listen to you tonight, and they are just dealing with whatever. We don't need to know. We may never know, but just one word of encouragement.
Well, for that, I'm going to have to go back to actually one of my influences, who is Dr. Maya Angelou. Oh, and at the end of every one of my show, that again is the Uplift Show every Thursday at 8:00 here on Awesome God Radio. At the end of every show, I give the uplifting thought of the day, which is a quote or even sometimes a short poem or something that I've found that I want to bless my listening audience with. And I've used this quite often. As a matter of fact, I think I might have even used it last night, but it's a favorite of mine. I even have it on a t-shirt. And she says, "We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated." What that says to me is that we are always going to lose some battles, but we will never have to lose the war. We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. Just because you get beat down in one area doesn't mean that you have to stay down. You got to get up and you got to fight, no matter how hard it is, no matter how long it takes. Keep fighting, and you will make it to your destination.
Yes. Breezy, thank you so much. Thank you so much. My heart is full. Listen, to everybody that is listening, please grab this book. We will drop the link shortly in the comment section so that you can grab it. I'm telling you, grab one for you, grab one for somebody else. This is a great book club book. Get your book club on. Listen, we all about to be in the house anyway, because we get ready to get
Hello.
So while you're shut down, have some good things to read. Get a journal so that as you're reading this book and God is depositing things to you, you can write them down. But listen, there is an expiration date on your brokenness. It is not forever. It is not forever. And I am believing God for your healing. Breezy, for you specifically, thank you so much for being my sister. Thank you for being on this show. And
you know I love you, girl.
I can't. You cannot even fathom what God is about to do for your life. And you have to stop not taking yourself seriously. Stop littling the things that you do. You do amazing things. And expect God, because he is with you. He sees you. He loves you. He's proud of you. And he is about to work through you. To my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in every single week, showing me love. Listen, you guys fill me up. This show fills me up. I bleed all week for this hour on Fridays, but it fills me up. To my Awesome God Radio family, I love you guys. It is an honor to even know you guys, let alone be family. To my super producer, Quincy, thanks for always taking care of me. And to everybody,
thank you.
Yes, be blessed, knowing that God has you. In closing, she thinks, she feels, she prays, she cries, she trusts, and ultimately she heals. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Stick around for next week. Come see me again next Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a blessed weekend. Take care. God bless.